I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with a 3-minute cattle market update for Wednesday, December the 30th to wind up the year here. After the huge gains seen over the Christmas break here early this week, your cattle futures are showing a pretty strong sign just by not completely falling out of bed. They are down some. December contract winding up here middle of the week here. Monday was down a quarter, Tuesday was down 65 cents to end up Tuesday at 130.20. But your February contract, which we will be going to right now, is at 135.5. So we still got some positives there. Feeder cattle, the January contract on Monday was down 82 cents, Tuesday was down 17, set at 162.47. But just the huge gains that we saw over the Christmas break there was really what the market needed, what the whole cattle industry needed. Your weighted average for feedlot sales, live steers last week was 123.40, which was up $6.76 from the previous week. Dressed steers almost to $2 dressed again at 199.60, which was up $16.16 from the previous week. Just an amazing recovery there, especially on the dress trade, but still those dress steers are a full $58 lower than they were the same time a year ago. But the huge gains over the Christmas break there, a lot of analysts are blaming that on the bullish reports that we saw. Cattle on Feed was really bullish. Had a report that said there wasn't quite as many hogs as we thought, even though it's still record levels because it's so easy to turn up the production on those hogs. But really it's doubtful that those bullish reports had a whole lot to do with it. It's just the traders and the funds that completely manipulate the futures market had ran this thing down so hard, they finally believed that they had oversold it enough that it's time to turn around and take it back up again. And they're just along for the ride, just they're picking up money on the way up and the way down and back and forth, and they pretty much do whatever they want to do. You know, because there's plenty of things weighing on the market, even though we had it oversold for as much pressure as we could find anywhere. But you know, despite your tight beef supplies that we had all through 2015, red meat production was still up over 2% because of heavier carcass weights on the cattle and the big numbers of hogs that are hitting the market. And a lot of your market analysts are saying that the bad weather that we're seeing here in the last week or two, this wintry weather, is a big positive for the market. You know, it's hard for me to call it a positive when cattle are having lighter carcass weights because they're struggling with the weather and they're not as efficient and productive as they are. You know, the guys that own those cattle are not making any money because those cattle are not performing as well. So it's hard for me to call the suffering of the cattle and their performance as a positive for the market, although it could make your monetary numbers go up a little bit. But speaking of bad weather, down here in the Texas Panhandle over the holidays, seeing family and had that big blizzard move in here the day after Christmas and the next day there. You look at some of the struggles there. A friend of mine took this photo here in Nazareth, Texas, which is between Dimmitt and Tulia, south of Amarillo there, out trying to take care of cattle. You look at some other pictures here in the Lubbock area. That storm went a lot further south than it normally goes. Amarillo typically sees wintry weather, but Lubbock not so much. But look at these cattle out on the loop around Lubbock there, just wandering. The cattle just walked over the fences, and a lot of people missing a lot of cattle due to not so much the thickness of the snow, but just the blowing snow and the blinding snow and the drifts that were caused, which were well over, you know, 10, 12 foot in some places. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central is gaining big time as we start to see a few sales, feeder cattle sales coming in after Christmas, up to 160-186, which is far above your CME feeder cattle index, but it should be catching up, and that's really a precursor for that. Got to get on Cattle Market Central and keep up with your real-time index. It's running a full day ahead of what the CME cash feeder cattle index is. But look at a quote there on Cattle Market Central. Tri-State Market at McCook, Nebraska on Monday had a load of steers weighed 768, bring 173.75. So expect some big recovery on your feeder cattle markets moving into the new year, and when we start seeing sales pick up again. All of us here at DV Auction hope all of you have a happy and profitable new year. We had a great year at DV Auction, had well over 800 production sales that were broadcast over DV Auction along with our regular slate of weekly auctions. But we'll talk to you next week.